All right. Shalom. Shabbat shalom. I am back. I just want to say, Toda Rabbah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Um, I really appreciate some of y'all's comments. Some of you all come on here and y'all ask questions, like really like simple questions, but it makes me dig more. And you know how that what happens sometimes when I have to dig more. I'm gonna find out some new things, right? Um, I'm just appreciative of those who come on the comments and actually are asking like thoughtful questions. Um, there was a comment that was mentioned. Well, actually, a question that was mentioned in one of the videos. The video that I did too. That was "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees." And so, I'm gonna take my time to answer somebody's thoughtful question. They asking a question about scriptures, and I'm gonna take my time to actually break it down. Now, you can go back to that actual video and look at the comment section. You can see how I replied to the sister, to the quote. But I found out something very interesting. Okay, I found out something new. Now, something I've already had taught on with Psalms 45. Okay, from the Aramaic interlinear. Okay, so this portion right here. Okay. Okay, remember that from a previous video? I know it's a little blurry. Anyway, um, her question was about like daughter, daughters versus daughters, how it reads in the Hebrew versus the Aramaic. And obviously, since we only have the Masoretic Hebrew text that most of our Bibles are from, we don't have the older Hebrew texts prior to that time. That's why the Peshitta, which is at least about 700 years younger than, or older, 700 years older than the Masoretic Hebrew text, um, is somewhat more reliable because they're using older Hebrew texts to translate into Aramaic. And if you know about Aramaic and Hebrew, they're both pretty much sister languages, okay? Um, Ibri actually derived from Aramaic. I actually did someone else's comment. Actually, another person asked me a question about that, and I went into detail regarding that Abraham spoke Aramaic first, and then when he was told to go to the land of Canaan, that's when Yah divinely started teaching him how to speak Ibri, the language of the Shemiah, okay, the language of Shemayim, of the heavens. And so, um, yeah. So I'm just gonna. She wanted me to pretty much. Okay, so I'll just. This is what, as I said, you can read the comment. I'll read what I wrote to her, and then you'll see. So, um, I just focus on verse 9 of Psalm 45, and it reads. I said to her, let's look and compare the Masoretic Hebrew text of verse 9 to the Peshitta Aramaic text of verse 9. Now, keep in mind that the Peshitta, okay, the one that I'm using from Glenn David, okay, because there's different, I guess, year versions of the Peshitta, okay. From his 15-year study, I have the interlinear. I finally have the interlinear in the New Testament. I finally got a hard copy. um, he mentions that the one that he was using from it had to be from the first century AD. Like the evidence, all the clues. Some I think some may say the Peshitta might have been developed around the second century AD, but from his 15 years of research in terms of working on creating an interlinear and a Peshitta Bible translated into English, he was more than thoroughly convinced, based on the evidence, that the Peshitta that he was using was from the first century AD. Okay, if you know anything about the Masoretic text, that was developed around the 8th century AD. So that's about, like I said, 700 years. The Peshitta uses older Hebrew text than the Masoretic text. And the Masoretic text, there's some notes to keep in mind that the Masoretics knew that they were already receiving corrupted texts in their time. in that time period from 760 AD to about 1000 AD, the time that they were writing up copies of the scrolls, of scriptures. I wrote here, I just wrote here, keep in mind the Peshitta circa 1st century AD is older than the Masoretic text. And the Masoretic scribes admitted that they had received a corrupted Hebrew source to scribe from or write copies from. The scribes and Pharisees, I mentioned in my Woe to You Scribes and Pharisees video. I just noted that the scribes and Pharisees of Matthew chapter 23 had already done the damage in the Hebrew text before 760 AD, because Yeshua knew that once they came across him, they were going to try to do everything to try to hide, mask, alter the Messianic prophecies in the scriptures, because they hated him. Okay, they were jealous of him. They hated him. They hated the authority that he carried. They hated the power that he demonstrated. Okay, they hated that he was so upfront about things. Okay, it's just, and they, unfortunately, they transgressed Yah's ways and they altered Yah's word. Okay, and that's what was passed on from the centuries thereafter. All right. So here's a comparison from the Masoretic versus the Aramaic Peshitta, and I'm able now to actually type in Ibri on my laptop. So this is what I typed up. Okay, so here we see, she was looking at verse 9. Masoretic text, I copy and paste that from the Blue Letter Bible. Here it says daughters. Okay, so Banot, daughters, Malakim of kings. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read it from this angle. This is Yikro Teka. Okay, among your precious ones. So it's like precious like rare. That's what the word comes from. She did stand, queen, upon your right hand in gold of Ophir. The word there, I gotta point to it right here. That's the word in Ibri for queen. Okay, if you look in the Aramaic, it's a little bit different. It is, hold on, I'm looking for it. There it is. U, that means and. Mal, or it could be, mal keta, or mal keta. Okay, that was the word they used for queen in the Aramaic, versus here in the Ibri, it's shegal. Okay, as you can see with the Peshitta here, it reads daughters of kings. Peshitta, daughter of king in glory she stood, and queen from your right hand in clothing of gold over Ophir. So I made some notes here about the difference between the Masoretic text, okay, from the time period that I mentioned, 760 AD. So things can be changed. If you add, like, this word might originally, some of the words in Hebrew, like I'm trying to remember. I'll find it. There's a word, I think, in the book of Jeremiah where an Aramaic word is used. So it's literally a Hebrew word, because it's like the whole text is like Hebrew, but you see some Aramaic words in between. Okay, so it will say like cup in Hebrew, and then it'll say cup in Aramaic, and then it'll say cup in Hebrew again. So you'll see that there are some Aramaic words naturally in the ancient Hebrew text. Okay, so I don't know if the Masoretics got a copy where they decided to alter this word. Okay, so see here, you see Banoth versus Barth, okay, which is Aramaic for daughter. Okay, so you can see here, they just changed two words in there. Okay, I don't know if the source that the Masoretic text got had altered that word. It might have been an Aramaic word that was used there. So who knows? We don't really know. But here's the most interesting thing. I'm going to get to the point here. What I learned by answering people's comments, okay? If you look at my Psalm 45 video, I told you about, verse 11, verse 12, and that how it's the daughter of Zor that worships the king. Okay, she's the one who marries the priest king. Okay, um, the word for queen is very interesting. Okay, that word right here, Shegal. I looked it up in the Strongs to answer her question because she was asking who's the queen, right? And I noted here, I said, anyway, the Masoretic text is translated as king's daughters. As daughters of kings among your precious ones, the queen did stand upon your right hand in gold over fear. Whereas the Peshitta would read more like this: daughter of king in glory stood, and queen beside your right hand in clothing of gold over fear. And I mentioned that in the Lamsa Peshitta Bible by George Lamsa, who's a native Aramaic speaker, he translates the verse as the king's daughter stands in glory. The queen stands in at your right hand in gold over fear. And I noted here, okay, check it out. I noted here, of course, the Peshitta shows that the king's daughter is the queen, because only one verb is used in both the Hebrew and the Aramaic texts, the word for she stands, okay, in verse 9. Now check this out right here. Interesting note, side note. The Hebrew word for queen here is used only twice. Okay, it's a little blurry there. Only twice in the Old Testament. The Hebrew word is shegal, and it means, the way if you look in the Strongs, queen from cohabitation, a high-level woman of royal status who the king copulates with. That is, to have sexual intercourse with. Strong's 7694. It's only used twice in all for queen. Okay. Other times the verb of it means like a man lying with a woman. So this actually shows this Hebrew word from verse 9 that the lady was asking me that question on. Okay, right here, this Hebrew word for queen. Sorry, let me do it again. That right there, shegal, means a queen that a king copulates with. Interesting. So there you have it. I learned something new just by answering somebody's thoughtful questions. So if you have any questions about scriptures, don't hesitate to ask, because hey, I might as I'm digging to try to answer your question, I might come across something very interesting, which of course creates another video, right? Anyway, yeah, shegal, okay? It means literally a queen that a king or a man copulates with, okay? Um, Only used twice in the whole Old Testament. Other times you see the root word, as I mentioned, it means like, a man lying with a woman, okay? That's what it literally means. So this is what, when it says queen, when it's translated as queen there, that's what it's referring to, that the daughter of the king in glory stood, and she's as a queen, obviously, as one that the king is with, okay, as a husband is to his wife. So anyway, yeah. And I think, is there any other, I'm trying to see if there's any other response from anybody else's comments. So yeah, feel free to, if you have any thoughtful questions to ask, feel free to ask, because I'll find stuff like that. I wasn't even really looking for it. I was just trying to answer her question. But yeah, I thought that'd be interesting to share. All right, I appreciate your thoughtful questions, and keep them coming, because I can, like I said, it makes me have to do more research, digging. All right, With that, I say shalom, shalom, and shalom. Shalom.